Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Soulution Live Show. I am your host, Jody, and this is the show where we take you from struggle to success so that you can live the rest of your life as the best of your life. And today, I cannot wait to jump into this topic with you this morning because I want to ask you this question. How many of you have ever heard the statement or the phrase, if the possibility of failure were erased, what would you attempt to achieve? Now, I've heard a lot of that from motivational gurus and things like that. They say, if there was no opportunity for failure, what would you try? What would you go after? Here's my problem with that, is we're talking about the F word today, right? And if I'm being totally honest with you, for years, one of my greatest fears was fear of failure. Do you resonate with that? Do you understand? Is that relevant to you? Do you ever fear failure? Because here's the thing. The more I thought about that statement, the more I realized that the F-bomb, failure, is inevitable. If you're going to try, you're going to sometimes fail. As a matter of fact, I would say more often than not, you're going to fail. Because the truth of the matter is, if we're trying, it means that we're learning. And as we're learning, we're going to be failing. I love Michael Jordan's quote and his statement about his life. He says, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. See, my friend, what you have to understand is if you think about failure, failure is just feedback, right? It's simply showing you what's not working so you can find out what will work. It's necessary that we fail. If we don't fail, we can't get the feedback. In other words, think about this. What's the last thing that you use the F word with, right? What's the last thing that you failed in? Whatever that is, realize it gave you feedback. It showed you where you could improve. It showed you and taught you how you could be better. It's necessary, my friend. And so the problem is that if we didn't fail, how would we know how to do what's next? The process of learning from our mistakes is truly invaluable. I look back over my life now and I realize that it's something I needed to run toward. Failure, that is. The F word, failure. I needed to run toward failure instead of away from it. But for all those years, I ran away from it because I was so afraid of failing. And in essence, I was failing by letting my fear overwhelm me, because when you don't attempt to try, that's when you really fail. You see, no successful person becomes a success without failure. It's absolutely impossible. Paul Martinelli says that failure is an essential part of the cycle of success. He says, test, fail, learn, improve, re-enter. In his book, Failure is the Second Step to Success. What a great and clear perspective about failure. In other words, if you're going to succeed, you have to test something. You have to fail at whatever it is you're testing. You then learn, get the feedback from your failure. You then improve on that, and then you re-enter the process of testing, seeing if it sticks. If it doesn't and you fail again, you try again. If you don't succeed, my friend, try again. You see, here's 3 things that I want to take and give you this morning so you can take away about failure. Number 1, if you try, notice what Paul Martinelli said. He said, test it, Then you'll fail most of the time, right? In the beginning stages anyway, you're going to fail, but you learn, you get the feedback, and you improve. You see, the thing is that I don't believe that it's ever really a failure, because it's never a loss if you learn from it. And what I mean by that is a lot of things we equate as failures. I look back over my life now and I say, Jody, in that instance, did you learn anything? Did you improve? Did you gain wisdom? Did you get a better skill set from that opportunity of learning? And I say yes. And so you know what? It's not the F word. I learned. I didn't fail. I didn't fail. But if you equate that to failing, if you equate that I don't reach the level of success I expected to reach, and so it's a failure, even though I learned a great deal through the process, then realize this: you still came out better because you learned. And so you go back and you improve upon what you learned, and you re-enter the phase and you test it again. And if you fail, you learn again and you keep going. Have you ever heard how many times Abraham Lincoln attempted to be a politician prior to becoming president? You see, what I want you to understand is anyone you esteem, anyone you admire has had so many failures in their life and went through the F-bomb so many times of failure that you would be amazed, because you don't see that side of them. Number two, get friendly with failure. What I mean is get comfortable with the idea of failure, because if you're going to ever be a leader, right? If you're going to be a leader, failure is your friend. In leadership, it's not a question of if you fail. It's a question of when you fail and how you respond to failure. Number three is always fail forward. Always fail forward. Now, what I mean by this, and as a matter of fact, I've got a graphic to show you, because I follow John Maxwell. I esteem John Maxwell and think he's a great guru in the world of leadership. And John Maxwell has created 15 steps to failing forward. First of all, he says, realize there's one major difference between average people and achieving people. Which one would you be? You see, when you're failing forward, average people, when they fail, they stop. I'm not here to make you average. I'm here to help you find success from your struggle. So when you fail at a project, when you fail at a concept, when you fail at speaking in front of an audience, when you fail in your mind at these things, at writing your first book, at whatever, when you fail, what are you going to do? Are you going to be average and just quit? Or are you going to learn from the process and be an achiever? Number two, learn a new definition of failure. Learn a new definition of failure. Realize that the mindset that you have is limiting you. Leverage failure to your benefit. Number three, remove the you from failure. In other words, don't allow yourself to be a failure. Realize that failure is a thing. It's not a person. Amen? Take action, number four, and reduce your fear. Reduce your fear. Realize you're in control. So take action and reduce your fear. Number five, change your response to failure by accepting responsibility. Realize you can change this. You can change it if you become responsible for it. Number six, don't let failure from outside get inside you. Don't let anything you don't accomplish the way you desire to get internally within your mind, your soul, and your heart. Number seven, say goodbye to yesterday. How many of you know yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, today is the present, because it's a gift from God? Basically what that's saying is, I can't get back yesterday. I can't get into tomorrow, but I have right here, right now. I encourage you, don't let the failures of yesterday control today. Number eight, change yourself and your world changes. Number nine, get over yourself and start giving yourself. Number 10, find the benefit in every bad experience. In other words, find the silver lining in the clouds. Number 11, if at first you do succeed, try something harder. Number 12, learn from a bad experience and make it a good experience. Number 13, work on weakness that weakens you. Number 14, understand there's not much difference between failure and success. And number 15, get up, get over it, and get going. You see, my friend, today what I want to empower you with is this understanding of failure. And here's what I want to share with you is that there's a great biblical narrative about the life of Peter, and we're coming up on Easter, right? Peter failed Christ 3 times by betraying him. Peter allowed this mindset to get in him that if he had said that he didn't know Jesus those 3 times, how could he ever say that he loved Christ with agape love, a love that is unconditional? As Peter began to self-analyze and really self-deprecate because he's going through this mindset of this limiting belief that he is a failure. He's equated himself, he's associated himself and labeled himself as a failure. But if you know anything about the Bible and you know the story in John chapter 21, Peter, along with some of the other disciples, have went back to their old life. They're in the boat fishing. And we find that Jesus calls to them from the seashore. Now, Jesus has been crucified, buried, and resurrected, and has been walking the earth for some days now as a resurrected Savior. He's sitting on the seashore and he calls them in, and Peter gets by the fire that Jesus has created and the fish that he has baked, and we find that they begin having this conversation over a meal. Jesus asked Peter, he says, Peter, do you phileo me? I mean, do you agape me? And Peter says, Lord, you know I phileo you. It means a brotherly love, not a self-sacrificing love. You know what Peter's saying? He's saying, Lord, because I've denied you, because I've failed you, I'm a failure. How can I say that I love you with an unconditional love? You see, Peter's allowed the F word to enter his language, to enter his vernacular, his vocabulary internally. And he says that I'm a failure. Jesus asked him again, Peter, listen, I mean, do you agapeo me? And Peter says, Lord, I phileo you. You know this. And so a third time Jesus asked Peter, he says, Peter, do you phileo me? And Peter is grieved in his heart because he realizes that Jesus has come down to his level. Now, let me explain this. Jesus didn't come down to Peter's level of love because Peter was a failure. It's to bring Peter up to see that he is fabulous, to see that he is fantastic, to see he has an amazing future. And today I want to empower you. Don't allow any missed opportunities to reach your level of success you were achieving for. We call that failure. If you learn from it, if you lean into it, and if you continue to go forward with it, it's not really a failure. It's a learning experience. So today I want you to get friendly with failure. Today I want you to fail forward. And today I want you to learn every time you don't reach the goal that you set. Keep progressing. Keep moving forward. It's not the end of your story. Failure is not final, my friend. And you're not a failure. You're fantastic. You're fabulous. And you have an amazing future. Until the next time, my friend, I hope that you are blessed, and I'm praying for your success. Quit using that F word, okay? Have a great day.